I handed my son the keys to my house on a Tuesday morning, and by Tuesday night, I realized I'd made the biggest mistake of my life. My name is Frank Morrison. I'm 68 years old, and until that Tuesday, I'd lived in the same 3-bedroom ranch in Mansfield, Ohio for 42 years, the place where Barbara and I brought David home from the hospital, where we celebrated every Christmas, every birthday, every milestone worth remembering. Barbara passed 3 years ago. Cancer, the kind that moves fast. After she died, the house got quiet in ways I hadn't expected, not just silent, quiet in a way that pressed against your chest. Her reading chair still sat by the window. Her coffee mug still hung on the second hook in the kitchen. I couldn't bring myself to change anything, but I also couldn't afford to stay. The pension wasn't enough. Property taxes kept climbing, and the furnace needed replacing. The roof had maybe 2 winters left. I did the math every month, sitting at that same kitchen table where Barbara used to pay the bills. And every month the numbers got worse. That's when David called. "Dad, you shouldn't be alone out there," he'd said. His voice had that careful tone people use when they've rehearsed something. "Jennifer and I have been talking. We've got plenty of room. Why don't you move in with us? Save your money. Be around family." It made sense. That's what I told myself anyway. Family takes care of family. That's how Barbara and I raised him. So I sold the house, got a fair price, considering the market, paid off what was left on the mortgage, covered the realtor, set aside some for moving costs. What remained went into my savings account. Not a fortune, but enough to feel like I wasn't arriving empty-handed. The morning I handed over the keys, I stood in the empty living room for maybe 20 minutes. The walls were lighter where our pictures had hung. The carpet showed rectangles where the furniture had been. 42 years compressed into a moving truck that had left the day before. I kept thinking Barbara would have known what to say. She always did. But standing there alone, I couldn't hear her voice anymore. Just the echo of my boots on hardwood floors we'd refinished together in 1989. I locked the door behind me and didn't look back. The drive to David's place took 2 hours, northeast toward the suburbs outside Cleveland. Trees gave way to strip malls, then to developments with names like Willowbrook Estates and Heritage Point, the kind of neighborhoods where every house looks like a slight variation of the same blueprint. I told myself it was a relief I was feeling, a fresh start. No more rattling around in a house too big for one person. No more wondering if I'd slipped on ice and nobody would find me for days. But somewhere around the halfway point, my hands tightened on the steering wheel, and I realized I was driving towards something I couldn't quite picture. I didn't know what David's daily routine looked like anymore. Didn't know which chair would be mine at dinner, or if they'd clear a shelf in the bathroom. I didn't know if I'd still feel like myself. If you're watching from somewhere you once called home, drop your city and state in the comments. Let's see where everyone's from. The GPS told me I had 40 minutes left. I kept driving. The guest room was at the far end of the hallway, away from everything. And I remember thinking, why does this feel like they're putting me out of sight? David's house sat on a cul-de-sac, all brick and vinyl siding, with a lawn so perfect it looked painted on. 2-car garage, big windows, a front porch with furniture nobody ever sat on. The kind of place that said, "We're doing well." Jennifer met me at the door before I'd even turned off the engine. She was smiling, but it was the smile you give a delivery man. Polite, temporary. She wore yoga clothes and had her phone in her hand, checking it even as she said, "Frank, you made it. Come on in." David appeared behind her, also holding his phone. "Hey, Dad." He hugged me, quick, one-armed, then grabbed the nearest box from my truck. "We'll get you settled." The house inside was staged like a showroom. Granite countertops, stainless steel everything, furniture that looked expensive but uncomfortable. Nothing on the walls suggested anyone actually lived there. No family photos, no personality. They walked me down a hallway past the master bedroom, past what looked like a home office, past a closed door I assumed was a guest bathroom. At the very end, almost like an afterthought, was my room. It was small, smaller than David made it sound on the phone. A double bed, a narrow dresser, a single window that looked out at the neighbor's fence. The walls were beige. The bedspread was beige. The carpet was a slightly darker beige. "We cleared out the closet for you," Jennifer said, gesturing vaguely. "Bathroom's down the hall. Let us know if you need anything." Then she was gone. David lingered in the doorway, scrolling through his phone. "You good, Dad?" "Yeah, this is fine. I appreciate you making space." He nodded without looking up. "Dinner's at 6. Jennifer's ordering something." Ordering, not cooking. I didn't say anything. Dinner was Thai food eaten straight from the containers. Jennifer did most of the talking, something about a property she was trying to flip, issues with the inspector, her partner being useless. David chimed in occasionally, but spent more time looking at his phone than at either of us. I tried to ask about his work. He's in IT, I think. Or was. He gave me a one-sentence answer and changed the subject. At one point, I noticed a stack of mail on the counter. The top envelope had red letters, "Final Notice." I couldn't see what it was for, but the words sat there like a neon sign. There were financial magazines scattered around too, the kind with headlines about early retirement and investment strategies. One was folded open to an article about life insurance policies. I told myself everyone struggles sometimes. The market's been unpredictable. Maybe they overextended the house. Jennifer cleared the containers and looked at me with that same tight smile. "You must be exhausted, Frank. Long day. Why don't you get some rest?" It was 7:15. "Sure," I said. "Long day." I walked back down that hallway, past their lives, to the beige room at the end, closed the door, sat on the edge of the bed. The house was silent except for the hum of the refrigerator somewhere far away. I unpacked one box, hung up 3 shirts, put my toiletries in the bathroom down the hall, which I'd apparently be sharing with nobody because there was nothing else in there. Then I lay down on a bed that wasn't mine, in a house that didn't feel like home, and stared at the ceiling. Something was off. I couldn't name it yet, but I felt it. I was staring at the ceiling, counting cracks in the plaster, when I heard my daughter-in-law say the words, "We need to start thinking about the funeral. The bed was too soft. The pillow is too flat. The room was too quiet in a way that made every sound amplify." I'd been lying there for hours, watching the red numbers on the alarm clock tick past 10, then 10:30, then 11. I wasn't sleeping. Couldn't. My mind kept circling back to that final notice on the counter, to Jennifer's cold efficiency, to the way David barely looked at me during dinner. I told myself I was being paranoid, adjusting. This was just the first night. Then I heard the voices, muffled at first, coming from above. The heating vent sat directly over the bed. Old construction, the kind where ductwork carries sound between floors. I realized David and Jennifer's bedroom must be right above mine. I could hear the cadence of conversation but not the words. Jennifer's voice mostly. Sharp, insistent. David came in quieter, uncertain. I almost rolled over. I almost tried to ignore it. Then Jennifer's voice cut through, clear as glass. "We can't wait another 10 years, David. He's healthy now, but we can help that along." I froze. Every muscle in my body is locked. I stopped breathing. David said something I couldn't make out. His tone was weak, questioning. Jennifer cut him off. "The life insurance alone is $200,000, plus whatever's left from the house sale. He said he put it in savings, right? That's another 60, 70,000 easy." I felt my heartbeat in my throat. David again, still too quiet to hear clearly, but I caught the uncertainty, the hesitation. "Don't go soft on me now," Jennifer said. Her voice was cold, businesslike. "We're drowning, David. The mortgage is 3 months behind. My last flip lost money. We maxed out both credit cards just to keep up appearances. Your father showing up is the solution, not the problem. We just need to be patient and careful." "I don't know, Jen. You don't have to know. You just have to not get in the way. Old people have accidents all the time. A fall down the stairs, medication mix-up, something with his heart. He's 68, for God's sake. No one's going to ask questions." Silence. Then David, barely audible. "What if he hears us? He's at the other end of the house, and he's old, probably half deaf already. Just keep him comfortable, keep him trusting us, and let me handle the rest. We'll be out of this hole by spring." The conversation shifted. Something about a contractor, a timeline. I stopped processing the words. I stared at the ceiling, at the vent, at the source of the voices planning my death. My chest felt like someone had parked a car on it. $200,000. That's what my life was worth to them. A financial solution, a way out of debt. David, my son, the boy I taught to ride a bike, the kid who used to fall asleep on my shoulder during car rides, hadn't argued, hadn't defended me, hadn't said no. He'd said, I don't know. If this story is making your blood boil, hit that like button and stick around, because Frank's about to make a decision that changes everything. I lay there in the dark, listening to the silence after their voices faded, and understood exactly how much danger I was in. I had two choices: run or pretend I didn't hear a thing. Running meant admitting I had nowhere to go. The clock read 11:47 p.m. I hadn't moved. My eyes were open, dry from not blinking. My mind was racing through possibilities, trying to find one that didn't end with me dead or homeless. Had I misheard? No. Jennifer's voice had been clear, specific. 200,000 from life insurance, 60 or 70 from savings, accidents, medication, a fall. Could I have misunderstood the context? Was there some explanation that made those words mean something different? No, I wasn't confused. I wasn't senile. I knew exactly what I'd heard. David hadn't said no. That's what kept stabbing at me. My son, my only child, hadn't shut it down, hadn't walked out, hadn't told her she was insane. He'd said, I don't know, which meant he was considering it. I thought about getting up, getting in my truck, and driving. But driving where? The house in Mansfield was sold. The new owners were moving in next week. I had some money in savings, the amount Jennifer had guessed almost exactly, but not enough to rent an apartment, pay deposits, start over. I'd blown through most of my liquidity on moving costs and repairs before the sale. I had no proof of what I'd heard. If I confronted them, they'd deny it, call me confused. Maybe I was having memory problems, hearing things. And then what? They'd know I knew. They'd know I was a threat. Worse, they might accelerate whatever they were planning. The smarter play was to act normal, pretend nothing happened. Buy myself time. I needed evidence, something concrete, a recording, a paper trail, something I could take to the police that wouldn't make me sound like a paranoid old man imagining conspiracies. I needed help, but from who? I didn't know anyone in this town, didn't have friends nearby. Barbara's sister lived in Florida. My brother passed away 6 years ago. I was alone. The clock hit 12:30 a.m., then 1, then 2. I didn't sleep. I lay there, listening to the house settle, watching shadows move across the ceiling, and planning. First, survive tomorrow. Act normal. Be grateful. Be the harmless old man they thought I was. Second, watch everything. Note every detail. Find out what they were planning and when. Third, document it. Find proof. Get help. Fourth, get out alive. The sky started to lighten around 5:30 a.m. I heard footsteps above me. Jennifer, up early. The shower ran. Pipes groaned. I got out of bed, got dressed, and prepared myself for the hardest performance of my life. I had to survive breakfast without them knowing I'd heard a single word. I sat at that breakfast table, chewing toast I couldn't taste, looking my son in the eye, and wondering if he'd already decided when I'd die. The kitchen was bright, too bright. Morning sun poured through the windows, bouncing off those granite countertops, making everything look clean and normal and safe. Jennifer stood at the coffee maker, humming something. She wore a different pair of yoga pants and a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Morning, Frank. Coffee? Sure, thanks. My voice sounded steady. That surprised me. Inside, my chest was tight, my pulse hammering in my ears. But outside, I was just a tired old man grateful for caffeine. David sat at the island, phone in hand, scrolling. He glanced up when I entered. Hey, Dad. Sleep okay? I pulled out a stool, sat down carefully, looked him right in the face. Like a baby, I said. The lie tasted like metal. Jennifer slid a mug toward me, then pushed over a plate with 2 pieces of toast. I wasn't sure what you liked, so I kept it simple. There's butter, jam, whatever you need. This is perfect. I picked up the toast, bit into it, chewed, swallowed. It felt like swallowing glass, but I smiled and took another bite. "We should get you set up with a local doctor," Jennifer said, leaning against the counter. "Someone who knows your history. David mentioned you had that heart thing a few years back." "I didn't have a heart thing. I had an irregular EKG once during a routine physical. Nothing came of it. It was nothing serious," I said. "But yeah, it's probably smart to find someone local." She nodded, watching me. Her eyes lingered a beat too long. Did she suspect? Could she see through me? I took another bite of toast, sipped the coffee, forced my hands to stay steady. David set his phone down. "Actually, Dad, we should probably update your will too. You know, new address. Make sure everything's current. I can take you to our lawyer this week if you want. Just to be safe." My stomach dropped. The will. Of course, they'd need the will updated. Make sure David was listed as beneficiary, executor, power of attorney. Make sure when I die, when they helped me die, everything transferred smoothly. I looked at my son, at the face I'd kissed goodnight 1,000 times, at the boy who used to climb into my lap during thunderstorms. "That's thoughtful," I said. "Yeah, let's do that." Jennifer smiled, genuine this time. "Great. I'll text you the lawyer's info, David." She turned back to the coffee maker, and I saw her shoulders relax slightly, like she'd passed some test, like I'd confirmed I was exactly what they thought. Trusting, oblivious, compliant. Good. David went back to scrolling. Jennifer started wiping down counters that were already clean. I finished my toast in silence, playing the role of the grateful father who didn't hear a goddamn thing through the heating vent last night. When I stood to rinse my plate, my legs felt weak. "I think I'll finish unpacking," I said. "Get organized. Take your time," Jennifer said without looking up. "Make yourself at home." I walked back down that hallway, past their lives, to the beige room at the end, closed the door, sat on the edge of the bed, and felt my hands start to shake so badly I had to clench them into fists to make it stop. I'd survived breakfast, but I didn't know how many more performances I had left in me. I found my own life insurance policy in a folder labeled estate planning, and I'd never signed a thing. They left at 8:45 a.m. Jennifer had a showing. David had some meetings. I watched from the guest room window as both cars backed out of the driveway and disappeared down the cul-de-sac. I waited 10 minutes, made sure they weren't coming back for something forgotten. Then I moved. David's home office was the second door on the left. I saw him go in there last night after dinner. The door wasn't locked. Inside, a desk, filing cabinet, computer setup, bookshelves lined with self-help books about wealth building and retirement planning. I started with the filing cabinet. The first drawer was taxes and mortgage statements. I flipped through quickly. Nothing unusual, except the amounts. The mortgage was substantial, way more than I'd have guessed. The property tax notices showed payments marked late in red ink. Second drawer, personal documents. That's where I found the folder. Estate planning, written in Jennifer's sharp handwriting across the tab. I pulled it out. I opened it on the desk. The first document was a life insurance policy, $200,000. Policyholder, Frank Morrison. Beneficiary, David Morrison. My signature sat at the bottom, except it wasn't my signature. Close, but the loop on the F was wrong. The slant was too aggressive. I'd never signed this, never even seen it before. My hand started shaking again. I pulled out my phone, old flip phone, the kind with a camera that takes grainy pictures, and photographed the document. The flash lit up the page. I took 3 shots to make sure I got it clear. Next document, medical power of attorney, giving David full authority to make medical decisions on my behalf in case of incapacity, also forged. I photographed it. Beneath that, a handwritten note on Jennifer's personal stationery, her looping script, doctor appointments, get dosage right, check interaction warnings, natural progression. My chest tightened. Dosage, interaction warnings, natural progression. She was planning to use medication, something that would look like an old man's health failing, a heart attack, a stroke, something a doctor wouldn't question. I took pictures of the note. My hands were shaking so badly the first 2 were blurred. The third one was clear enough. I kept digging. There were pamphlets, glossy brochures for memory care facilities, compassionate end-of-life care for seniors, sections highlighted in yellow, natural decline in cognitive function. Families often don't notice the signs. Peacefully transitioning. They were building a narrative. The confused old man, the deteriorating father. The family is doing their best. So when I died, no one would ask questions. I photographed everything. At the bottom of the folder was a printed email chain between Jennifer and someone named M. Hendricks at a life insurance company. The subject line, expediting claim process. The email was dated 2 weeks ago, before I'd even moved in. She'd been planning this before I arrived. I heard something outside, a car door. My heart stopped. I shoved everything back into the folder, crammed it into the filing cabinet, pushed the drawer shut, listened. Garage door opening. They were back. One of them was back. I rushed out of the office, down the hall, into the guest room, closed the door as quietly as I could, sat on the bed, tried to control my breathing. Footsteps in the kitchen. Jennifer's voice, talking on the phone, something about rescheduling. She'd forgotten something. She'd be gone again soon. I waited, listened, heard her heels click back through the house, heard the garage door again, heard the car pull away. Silence. I looked down at my phone, at the photos I'd taken. This wasn't impulse. This wasn't desperation or a passing thought between two people in debt. This was premeditated, organized, calculated, and I had proof. Drop a comment if you think Frank should confront them now or keep gathering evidence. I want to hear your strategy. She handed me 2 white pills and said, doctor's orders, but I hadn't been to a doctor in 6 months. Dinner that night was quiet. Takeout Chinese, eaten from the containers again. David talked about work, something about a server migration, and Jennifer nodded along, scrolling through her phone. I pushed Lomine around with a fork and tried to look relaxed. After we'd cleared the containers, I started to stand. That's when Jennifer reached into her pocket and pulled out a small pill organizer. Oh, Frank, before I forget, she walked to the sink, filled a glass with water, and brought it to me along with the organizer. She popped open the Sunday evening slot. 2 small white pills tumbled into her palm. David mentioned you take these for your blood pressure. I picked them up from the pharmacy this afternoon. I stared at the pills. I don't take blood pressure medication. Haven't in years. I had a prescription back in 2019, but my doctor took me off it after 6 months when my numbers stabilized. I manage it with diet and walking. Jennifer smiled. Warm. Concerned. Doctor's orders, right? My throat went dry. David looked up from his phone. Yeah, Dad. You're supposed to take those twice a day. You told me that last month. I never told him that, because it wasn't true. But here they were, both of them, insisting, creating a medical history that didn't exist, gaslighting me in real time. I looked at the pills in Jennifer's outstretched hand. Small, white, unmarked. What were they? Blood pressure medication that would drop my numbers dangerously low? Something to mess with my heart rhythm? Something that would interact with the vitamins they'd give me tomorrow? Right, I said. I reached out, took the pills from her palm. Thanks for picking these up. I put the pills in my mouth. I took a glass of water, tilted my head back, swallowed the water, palmed the pills under my tongue. Good, Jennifer said, watching. I'll make sure you get them every morning and night. Can't let your blood pressure spike. Not at your age. I nodded, handed back the glass. Appreciate it. I stood, said I was tired, and walked back to my room, closed the door, went to the bathroom down the hall, locked it, and spit the pills into my hand. They sat there in my palm, slightly dissolved, bitter residue on my tongue. I flushed them. I watched them disappear. Then I gripped the sink and stared at my reflection in the mirror. The face looking back was pale, older than I remembered. This wasn't theoretical anymore. This wasn't overheard plans or forged documents. They just tried to give me something, right there at the dinner table, with smiles and concern and doctor's orders, and it was only Wednesday. I've been here for 2 days. How long until they escalated? How long until they stopped being patient? I couldn't eat anything they prepared. Couldn't drink anything they handed me. Couldn't take any medication, any vitamins, anything that passed through their hands. I was living in a house where every meal, every glass of water, every pill could be the one that killed me, and I was completely alone. I walked back to my room, locked the door, though I knew it wouldn't matter if they decided to come in, and sat on the bed. My hands were trembling again. I needed help. I need it now, and I knew exactly who to call. I called the only man I trusted with my life, and the first thing Tom said was, "How fast can you get out of there?" I waited until Thursday morning, listened to Jennifer and David leave for work. Both cars, both gone. Then I went to the kitchen and picked up the landline. I didn't trust my cell phone. Didn't know if David had access to it somehow, if they were monitoring it. But the landline felt safer. Old technology they wouldn't think about. I dialed Tom Bradley's number from memory. Tom and I went back 40 years. We'd worked together at the plant until he left to join the police force. After he retired from the department, we'd stayed close. Fishing trips twice a month. Coffee every Sunday after Barbara died. The kind of friend who shows up when you need him without being asked. The phone rang 3 times. "Frank?" Tom's voice was surprised. "Everything okay? You're calling from a number I don't recognize." My voice cracked. I hadn't meant for it to, but it did. "Tom, I need help." "What's wrong?" And it all came out. The heating vent, the conversation, the forged insurance documents, the pills, everything. Tom didn't interrupt, didn't ask if I was sure, didn't suggest I might have misunderstood. He listened like the detective he used to be, and when I finished, he was quiet for a long moment. "Frank," he said finally, "you're describing elder abuse and attempted murder. This is serious. We need evidence that'll hold up in court. I have photos, documents, the insurance policy, the power of attorney." "Good. That's good. Keep documenting everything. Every pill they try to give you, every conversation, every detail. But listen to me. Do not confront them." I wasn't planning to. I mean it. The second they know you're onto them, you're in immediate danger. Right now, they think you're clueless. That's your only protection. My hands tightened around the phone. What do I do? You play along. You keep your head down. And the first chance you get, you pack a bag and you come stay with me. I'm 2 hours away. You can be here by lunch if you leave now. I looked around the empty kitchen, at the house that was supposed to be my home. I can't just leave. They'll know something's wrong. Then make an excuse. Doctor's appointment, errand, visit an old friend, whatever gets you out the door with your things. What about the police? We'll go to them together, with everything you've documented. But Frank, you have to get out of that house first. Can you do that? I thought about Jennifer's smile, David's weak compliance, the pills dissolving under my tongue. "Yeah," I said, "I can do that. Call me the second you're on the road. And Frank, be careful. Don't let them know you're onto them." "I won't." I hung up. For the first time since Tuesday night, I felt something besides fear. I felt like I had a plan, and I wasn't alone anymore. I was standing on a chair, installing what looked like a smoke detector, when Jennifer walked through the door and asked what I was doing. The package had arrived Friday morning. Plain brown box, no return address. Inside, a smoke detector that wasn't a smoke detector. Tom had overnighted it with a handwritten note, battery-powered, records audio and video, mounted in a common area. Instructions inside. The instructions were simple enough. Screw it into the ceiling, angle it toward where they'd talk, turn it on via a tiny switch hidden behind the battery compartment. The footage would save to an internal SD card I could remove and review. I'd chosen the living room. It had a clear view into the kitchen, where David and Jennifer seemed to have most of their conversations, and the ceiling already had old smoke detector mounts from previous units. I dragged a chair over, climbed up, knees protesting. My hands shook as I lined up the screws with the existing holes. I'd gotten 1 screw in, was working on the second, when I heard the garage door. Too early. Jennifer wasn't supposed to be home until 4. It was barely 2. I heard her heels on the tile, keys hitting the counter. Then her voice, sharp and sudden from right behind me. "Frank, what are you doing?" I nearly dropped the screwdriver. I turned, still standing on the chair, and looked down at her. She was staring up at me, purse still on her shoulder, eyes narrowed. My mind went blank. Then instinct kicked in. The battery was beeping, I said, gesturing at the smoke detector. Drove me crazy all morning. Figured I'd check it, maybe replace it if needed. You don't want these things going off at 3 a.m. She didn't move, just kept looking at me, at the detector, at the screwdriver in my hand. David usually handles that kind of thing. Didn't want to bother him at work. I turned back to the ceiling, forced my hand steady, drove in the second screw. Besides, I've changed 100 of these over the years. Muscle memory. Silence behind me. I climbed down from the chair. I picked it up. I looked at her with what I hoped was a calm, slightly embarrassed smile. All set. Should be good for another few years. Jennifer's eyes flicked to the smoke detector, then back to me. You didn't need to do that. Old habits, I said. It's hard to just sit around when something needs fixing. She studied me for another beat. Then her expression shifted, smoothed out into something almost pleasant. Well, thank you, I guess. Just let us know next time, okay? We don't want you overexerting yourself. Will do. She walked past me toward the kitchen. I carried the chair back to the dining area, taking my time, acting like nothing in the world was wrong. But I could feel her watching me. That night, after they'd gone to bed, I crept back into the living room, dragged the chair over as quietly as I could, climbed up, popped open the smoke detector, and removed the tiny SD card. Back in my room, I slid it into the card reader Tom had included, opened the files on my old laptop, and there it was. Jennifer and David in the kitchen, 4 hours of footage. I skipped through, looking for voices. At the 2:47:32 mark, Jennifer said, "We need to increase the dose. He's still too alert." David's voice, quieter. "What if someone notices?" "No one's noticing. He's old and alone. That's the point. We just make it look natural. Gradual decline. Standard aging. By the time anyone asks questions, it'll be too late." I saved the file, backed it up on a flash drive. I had them. Dr. Chen looked at the pills, looked at me, and said 5 words that made my blood run cold. "Frank, this could kill you." David had insisted on driving me to the appointment. "You're new to the area, Dad. Don't want you getting lost." He'd called Dr. Chen's office himself, made the appointment, told them it was a routine follow-up. Dr. Sarah Chen had been my physician for 15 years. She'd seen me through Barbara's illness, my own health scares, the adjustments of aging. I trusted her more than I trusted most people. David walked me into the waiting room, signed me in, then tried to follow me back when the nurse called my name. Dr. Chen appeared in the hallway, mid-50s, sharp eyes, no-nonsense demeanor. She glanced at David, then at me. "Mr. Morrison, I'll need to do a full examination. Your son can wait here." David hesitated. "I should probably—" "Patient privacy," Dr. Chen said, voice firm. "I'm sure you understand." She gestured me into the exam room and closed the door. The second we were alone, her expression changed. "Frank, you look like hell. What's going on?" I'd prepared for this. Knew I had one shot to make her understand. I pulled the pill organizer from my pocket, the one Jennifer had filled, handed it to Dr. Chen. "They're telling me these are for my blood pressure, but I haven't taken blood pressure medication in 5 years." Dr. Chen opened the organizer, dumped 2 of the small white pills into her palm, studied them under the exam light. Her jaw tightened. "Frank, this isn't blood pressure medication. What is it?" She walked to her computer, pulled up a pharmaceutical database, typed in what I assumed was an identifier from the pill's markings, waited, then turned the screen toward me. "Lorazepam. It's a benzodiazepine, a sedative, high dose." She looked at me. "Who gave you these?" "My daughter-in-law. She said my son told her I needed them twice a day." Dr. Chen's face went hard. "Frank, if you took these as prescribed, 2 per day, every day, you'd be looking at severe sedation, confusion, risk of falls. Combined with other medications or alcohol, this could cause respiratory depression, organ failure, even death. In elderly patients, benzos are incredibly dangerous." My hands were shaking again. "I didn't take them. I palmed them, flushed them." "Good." She set the pills down, picked up her phone. I'm documenting this. With your permission, I'm going to photograph these pills, write a formal report, and note in your chart that you are not and have never been prescribed benzodiazepines. Do it." She took photos, typed notes, asked me questions, clinical, detailed questions about what else Jennifer had given me, whether I'd experienced any symptoms, whether I felt safe at home. I told her everything: the overheard conversation, the forged documents, the life insurance policy, Tom's involvement, the hidden camera. When I finished, Dr. Chen sat back in her chair and looked at me with an expression I couldn't quite read: anger, sadness, resolve. "Frank, you're describing elder abuse and attempted murder. This is a crime. Have you contacted the police?" "Not yet. I'm gathering evidence first. You need to get out of that house." "I'm working on it." She wrote something on a prescription pad, tore it off, handed it to me. It wasn't a prescription. It was her personal cell number. "If anything happens, anything, you call me, day or night. I will testify. I will provide this documentation. But Frank, please, get somewhere safe." I folded the paper, put it in my wallet. "Thank you. Don't thank me. Just survive." David was scrolling through his phone when I came back to the waiting room. He looked up. "Everything okay?" "Clean bill of health," I said. "Dr. Chen says I'm doing great." He smiled, stood, put his hand on my shoulder. "That's good, Dad. Really good." I let him guide me to the car. And the whole drive home, I thought about Dr. Chen's words. This could kill you. I knew. Tom said we had enough evidence to put them away, but I wanted to look my son in the eye and ask him one question: why? I met Tom at a diner off Route 30, halfway between his place and David's house. Free afternoon, 2 o'clock. The place was nearly empty. We sat in a back booth. I slid the flash drive across the table. Tom plugged it into his laptop, watched the footage, listened to Jennifer's voice discussing dosages and natural-looking decline, read Dr. Chen's report, examined the photos of the forged insurance documents. When he finished, he closed the laptop and looked at me. "This is enough, Frank. We can take this to the police right now. They'll open an investigation. Fraud, forgery, attempted murder, elder abuse. Jennifer's looking at serious time. David too, as an accessory. But, they'll deny everything. Say you misunderstood. Say the documents are legitimate. You just don't remember signing them. Say the pills were a mix-up, and unless we catch them in the act or get a confession, a good lawyer might create reasonable doubt." I'd been thinking about this for days, turning it over in my mind during the sleepless nights. "I want to confront them," I said. Tom's expression didn't change. "Frank, on our terms, with you recording from outside, with police on standby. I want them on record, Tom. I want to hear them try to explain this to my face. That's dangerous. Everything's dangerous right now. But he's my son." My voice cracked on the last word. "He deserves a chance to admit what he's done, to tell me why." Tom was quiet for a long moment. Then he nodded. "Okay, but we do this right. You wear a wire. I'm parked outside with a direct line to 911. The second things go south, I'm calling it in." "Agreed." "When?" "Tonight. Friday. They'll both be home. I'll tell them I need to talk to them about something important." Tom pulled out a small recording device, the kind police use for undercover operations. "This clips to your belt, microphone goes under your shirt. It'll pick up everything. I'll be able to hear in real time." I took it, felt the weight of it in my hand. "You don't have to do this," Tom said quietly. "We can go to the police right now. Let them handle it." "I know." I met his eyes. "But I need to hear him say it. I need to know if there's anything left of the boy I raised." Tom nodded, understanding. We went over the plan, timing, contingencies, what to say, what not to say, how to stay safe. When we finished, Tom gripped my shoulder. "You're braver than you think, Frank." "I'm terrified." "That's what makes it brave." I drove back to David's house, parked in the driveway, sat there for a minute, gathering myself. Tonight, everything would either end or finally make sense. I got out of the car and went inside. I sat in that living room chair, waiting for my son to come home, knowing that in an hour, everything would either end or finally make sense. I hadn't slept. Not really. I'd lain in bed all night, staring at the ceiling, listening to the house settle around me, thinking about Barbara. wondering what she would say if she were here. You'd tell me to protect myself, I whispered into the darkness. You'd tell me to be smart, to survive, but I also knew she'd be heartbroken. David was her world, our world. I got up before dawn, packed a small bag, just essentials, things I couldn't replace. My wallet, Barbara's wedding ring, which I'd carried in my pocket since the funeral, the flash drives with evidence, a change of clothes. I hid the bag in the truck, just in case. David and Jennifer left for work at their usual time, 8:30, both cars pulling out together. I watched from the window until they disappeared. Then I texted Tom, tonight, 6 p.m. His response came back immediately. I'll be there. Stay safe. I spent the day rehearsing what I'd say, how I'd start the conversation, whether I'd lead with the pills or the insurance policy, or just ask David point blank, did you plan to kill me? Every version felt impossible. I thought about the boy he'd been, 7 years old, holding my hand at the county fair, 12, learning to throw a curveball in the backyard, 16, crying on my shoulder when his high school girlfriend broke his heart. When did he become this stranger? When did money matter more than his own father's life? Or had I missed something? Had I failed him somewhere along the way? At 5:30 p.m., I clipped the recording device to my belt, threaded the microphone under my shirt, up toward my collar, tested it. Tom's voice crackled through my phone. I hear you, crystal clear. At 5:45, Tom texted, in position, 2 houses down. Police are on standby. At 6:03, I heard the garage door open. They were home. I sat in the living room chair, the one with a clear view of the kitchen, the one directly below the hidden camera. My heart hammered against my ribs. Jennifer came in first, stopped when she saw me sitting there, waiting. Frank, you okay? David followed, loosening his tie. Hey, Dad. I looked at him, at the face that used to trust me completely, at the man who'd let his wife plan my murder. We need to talk, I said. My voice was steady, but my hands, hidden at my sides, were shaking. What happens next is going to shock you. Don't go anywhere. I looked at my son and said, I know you were planning my funeral. Now tell me why. Jennifer set her purse on the counter. Slow, deliberate. Her eyes never left mine. Frank, what are you talking about? David stood frozen in the doorway between the kitchen and living room. His face had gone pale. I reached beside the chair and picked up the manila folder I'd prepared, laid it on the coffee table. I'm talking about the life insurance policy with my forged signature, the medical power of attorney I never signed. The pills you've been giving me aren't blood pressure medication. They're sedatives, Jennifer. High-dose benzodiazepines that could have killed me. Her expression didn't change, didn't even flicker. You're confused, Frank. Those documents are legitimate. You signed them when you moved in. You just don't remember. And those pills are exactly what the doctor prescribed. I never saw a doctor. You did. You're just... She paused, manufactured concern crossing her face. You're forgetting things. It happens at your age. That's why we got the power of attorney. To protect you. Gaslighting. Right to my face. I looked at David. You going to back her up on this? He opened his mouth, closed it, looked at Jennifer, then at me, said nothing. I pulled out my phone, opened the audio file, pressed play. Jennifer's voice filled the room, crystal clear. We can't wait another 10 years, David. He's healthy now, but we can help that along. The life insurance alone is $200,000. David's face crumbled. Jennifer's jaw tightened. Where did you... I kept the recording playing. Her voice, cold and calculated. Old people have accidents all the time. A fall down the stairs, medication mix-up. No one's going to ask questions. I stopped it. The silence was deafening. That's from Tuesday night, I said quietly. The first night I was here. You were in your bedroom. I was directly below you. The heating vent carried every word. David sank against the doorframe. Dad, Shut up, David. Jennifer's voice was sharp. She turned to me. That proves nothing. It's out of context. You're twisting. I have video too, I said. From the camera in the smoke detector. You, talking about increasing the dosage, making it look natural. I have Dr. Chen's medical report stating these pills could cause organ failure in elderly patients. I have documentation of the forged signatures. I have everything. Jennifer. Her composure finally cracked. Just for a second. A flash of pure rage. Then she smoothed it over. Smiled. You can't prove any of this would hold up in court. It's your word against ours. An old man with, let's be honest, declining faculties, making wild accusations against his loving family who took him in. I looked at David. Is that what you are? Loving family? His voice came out broken. Dad, I'm sorry. Jennifer said it was the only way out. We're drowning in debt. The house, the credit cards, everything. We were going to lose it all. She said if we helped things along, no one would know. I didn't think what, David? Didn't think it was murder? Didn't think I'd notice you were poisoning me? I didn't want to. He was crying now. Actually crying. I didn't know what else to do. Jennifer's face was stone. Shut up, David. Stop talking. I stood slowly, looked at both of them. The police are outside, I said. They've been listening to everything through the wire I'm wearing. You had one chance to tell the truth, to show even a shred of remorse. You couldn't even do that. Jennifer's face went white. David made a sound like a wounded animal. I walked to the front door and opened it. Tom stood there, along with 2 uniformed officers. Come on in, I said. The officer said, Jennifer Morrison, you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit murder. And I finally let myself breathe. Tom entered first, followed by the 2 officers. A man and a woman, both with expressions that said they'd heard everything and weren't impressed. Jennifer took a step back. Her eyes darted to the hallway, to the garage door, calculating. The female officer moved to block her path. Don't. This is insane, Jennifer said, voice rising. He's lying. He's confused. We've done nothing wrong. Ma'am, we've heard the recordings. We've reviewed the evidence. The male officer pulled out handcuffs. Jennifer Morrison, you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit murder, elder abuse, fraud, and forgery. You have the right to remain silent. Jennifer's face twisted. You can't be serious. I want a lawyer. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. She tried to jerk away when the officer reached for her wrists. Get your hands off me. David, do something. But David wasn't moving. He'd slid down the doorframe and was sitting on the floor now, head in his hands, shoulders shaking. The female officer approached him. David Morrison, you're also under arrest as an accessory to conspiracy to commit murder, elder abuse, and fraud. He didn't resist, didn't even look up, just held out his wrists like a man who'd already given up. Jennifer was still fighting. You ungrateful old man, she screamed at me as the officer cuffed her. We gave you a home. We took you in when you had nowhere else to go. This is how you repay us? I looked at her, really looked at her, at the rage and entitlement and complete lack of remorse. You gave me a death sentence, I said quietly. You planned to poison me, forge my signature, and cash in on my life insurance. Don't talk to me about gratitude. Her face contorted. She lunged toward me, but the officer held her back. Let's go, ma'am. They led her toward the door. She was screaming now. Curses, threats, accusations. The officer read her rights over her shouting. David walked out silently. He glanced at me once as they guided him past. His eyes were red, hollow. He opened his mouth like he wanted to say something, then closed it, and they took him away. The house fell silent. I stood in the doorway, watching the police cars pull away, red and blue lights reflecting off the neighbors' windows, people standing on their lawns, watching, whispering. Tom stepped up beside me, put a hand on my shoulder. You did good, Frank. I didn't feel good. I felt empty, hollowed out. Come on, Tom said gently. Let's get your things. You're staying with me tonight. I nodded. We walked back through the house, past the kitchen where I'd choked down toast and lies, past the living room where I'd confronted my son, down the hallway to the beige room where I'd spent 5 nights fearing for my life. I grabbed my packed bag, took one last look around. Then I walked out of that house and didn't look back. Tom drove. I sat in the passenger seat, watching the suburbs disappear behind us, and finally, let myself breathe. If you're still with me, hit that subscribe button. Frank's story isn't over yet. The day the jury read the verdict, I felt relief, but also something I didn't expect. Grief for the son I thought I had. The trial took 8 months. 8 months of depositions, lawyers, court dates. 8 months of seeing David and Jennifer in courtroom seats, separated by their respective attorneys, not looking at each other. David took a plea deal 3 months in, pled guilty to conspiracy and elder abuse. His lawyer argued he was under Jennifer's influence, that he was a weak man in a bad situation who made a terrible choice. 7 years. That's what he got. Jennifer refused to take a deal, went to trial, sat stone-faced while Dr. Chen testified about the pills, while Tom presented the recordings, while I took the stand and recounted every detail. The jury deliberated for 4 hours. Guilty on all counts. 12 years. When the judge read the sentence, Jennifer didn't react, just stared straight ahead, jaw tight, already planning her appeal. I didn't visit either of them. Not once. People asked if I would. Tom, Dr. Chen, even the victim's advocate assigned to my case. Don't you want closure? Don't you want to hear him apologize? But I'd already heard everything I needed to hear. David had chosen Jennifer over me, had chosen money over his own father's life. An apology wouldn't change that. Some things you don't forgive, not because you're holding a grudge, but because forgiveness isn't owed. I moved in with Tom temporarily. His house had a spare bedroom, and he didn't mind the company. We fell into a routine. Coffee in the morning, dinner together, fishing on Saturdays. But the nights were hard. I'd lie awake thinking about David as a boy, the time I taught him to ride a bike, running alongside him until he found his balance, the little league games where he'd search the stands for my face after every hit, the morning he graduated college and told me, "I couldn't have done this without you, Dad." When had I lost him? When had he become someone who could look me in the eye and hand me poison? Was I a bad father? I asked Dr. Chen during a follow-up appointment. She looked at me for a long moment. "Frank, you were a target, not a cause. David made his choices. You didn't make them for him." Tom said something similar. "You raised him right. Whatever broke inside him, that's on him and Jennifer, not you." I wanted to believe them. Some days I did. After the trial settled, I made a decision. David's house, the one where I'd nearly died, was legally mine now. Seized as part of the fraud case. Sold to cover restitution and legal fees. What was left came to me. I used the money to buy a small cottage 20 minutes from Tom. 2 bedrooms, a front porch, a yard that backed up to woods. It wasn't much, but it was mine. I joined a support group for elder abuse survivors. Met once a week at the community center. At first, I just listened, heard stories from men and women who'd been stolen from, manipulated, isolated by the people who were supposed to love them. Then one week, I told my story, and when I finished, an older woman across the circle said, "You survived. That's what matters. You're still here." She was right. I was still here. Barbara's wedding ring still sat in my pocket. I carried it everywhere. Some nights, I'd take it out, turn it over in my fingers, and imagine what she'd say. I think she'd tell me I did the right thing, that protecting yourself isn't selfish, that family is supposed to lift you up, not bury you. I think she'd be proud I survived. I'm still rebuilding, still learning how to trust people again, still working through the anger and the grief and the weight of knowing my own son wanted me dead. But I'm here, and that's enough. If I'd known then what I know now, I would have seen the warning signs on day one. And maybe you can. Looking back, the red flags were everywhere. I just didn't want to see them. Jennifer's coldness that first night, the tight smile, the way she kept checking her phone instead of welcoming me, that wasn't just rudeness. That was someone who saw me as an inconvenience, a problem to solve. The guest room at the end of the hall, isolated from everything. That wasn't coincidence. That was strategic. Keep the old man out of sight, out of earshot. Make sure he doesn't hear or see too much. David's sudden interest in updating my will within 24 hours of my arrival. I told myself he was being responsible. But responsible people don't rush legal documents. They don't pressure you to sign things the day after a major life change. The medications I didn't need, handed to me with authority and insistence. Doctor's orders. Except I hadn't been to a doctor. If something feels wrong about pills you don't recognize, trust that feeling. Ask questions. Get a second opinion. Don't just swallow what someone tells you to. The financial stress I saw but dismissed, the past due notices, the strained conversations, the desperate energy in that house. When people are drowning financially, some will do anything to save themselves, even if it means sacrificing you. Here's what I learned, and what I want you to know. Trust your instincts. If something feels off, it probably is. You're not paranoid. You're paying attention. Keep trusted friends informed. Tell someone, anyone you trust, where you are, how you're doing, what's happening in your life. Isolation is the abuser's best weapon. Don't give them that. Never sign documents under pressure. Real families don't rush. Real concern doesn't come with a deadline. If someone's pushing you to update your will, sign over power of attorney, or change beneficiaries, slow down. Get independent legal advice. Maintain financial independence when possible. Keep your own bank account. Know where your money is. Don't hand over control of your finances to anyone, even family, unless it's absolutely necessary and you have safeguards in place. Know your medications, every single one, what they're for, what they look like, what the dosage is. If someone hands you a pill you don't recognize, ask questions, call your doctor, verify, and understand this. Elder abuse happens in good families, in nice suburban houses with manicured lawns, behind closed doors, where everything looks fine from the outside. It's hidden. It's shameful. People don't talk about it, but it's not your fault. If it's happening to you, you didn't cause it. You didn't fail. You're a victim of someone else's greed, their desperation, their moral bankruptcy. And if you're watching this and you have older parents, neighbors, friends, check on them. Not just a quick phone call. Really check. Visit. Ask questions. Look around. Notice if they seem withdrawn, confused, afraid. Notice if someone's always controlling the conversation, always in the room, always monitoring. One phone call could save a life. One visit could expose what's happening behind closed doors. Don't assume someone else is paying attention. Be the person who shows up. Drop a comment if you've ever noticed warning signs like this. Your story might help someone else. I learned that home isn't a place you inherit or buy. It's the people who show up when everything falls apart. The cottage I bought sits on a quiet street about 20 minutes from Tom's place. It's small, 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, a kitchen barely big enough to turn around in. The porch sags a little on one side, and the yard could use work, but it's mine. No one can take it from me. No one has a key unless I give them one. No one controls when I come and go, what I eat, what I take, how I live. That freedom, that security, is worth more than any big house with granite countertops ever could be. Tom and I still fish every Saturday. Same spot on the lake, same cooler of sandwiches, same comfortable silence that comes from 40 years of friendship. He saved my life, not just by helping me gather evidence or calling the police, but by believing me, by not questioning whether I was confused or paranoid or imagining things. That belief meant everything. I started volunteering at the senior center downtown. Twice a week, I teach a class on financial literacy for retirees, how to spot scams, how to protect your assets, what documents you should never sign without independent review. I tell them my story, not all the details, but enough, and I watch their faces. Some nod knowingly, some look uncomfortable. A few have come up to me afterward and quietly shared their own experiences. We're not alone. That's what I've learned. This happens more than anyone wants to admit. I reconnected with people from my old postal route too. Sent out some letters, made some calls. People I'd delivered mail to for 20 years. They remembered me, invited me over for coffee, asked how I was doing, welcomed me back into their lives even though I'd been gone. That kindness, when you've been betrayed by your own blood, it's like water in a desert. Healing isn't linear. Some days I wake up and I'm fine, grateful even for the second chance I've been given. Other days I'm angry, furious at David, at Jennifer, at the whole situation. Some days I'm just sad, grieving the relationship I thought I had with my son. Dr. Chen told me that's normal. You didn't just survive an attack, Frank. You lost your family. Let yourself grieve that. So I do. But I've also learned this. Family isn't just blood. It's who shows up. It's Tom, who dropped everything to help me. It's Dr. Chen, who believed me and documented everything. It's the people in my support group who understand without explanation. It's my neighbors here, who check in on me and invite me to barbecues. That's family. I'm even dating again. Cautiously. A woman named Margaret I met at the senior center. She's a widow too, understands loss, doesn't rush anything. We have coffee on Thursdays. It's nice. Barbara would want me to live, not just survive. I know that. She'd tell me to open my heart again, to trust again, to build something new from what's left. So that's what I'm doing. One day at a time, one choice at a time, surrounded by people who actually care whether I wake up tomorrow. And slowly, very slowly, I'm becoming whole again. If you're still here, it means you listened to the whole story, and that tells me you care. So let me leave you with this. If you're watching this and something feels wrong in your own life, trust that feeling. You're not being paranoid. You're not imagining things. You're not a burden, and you're not overreacting. You deserve safety. You deserve respect. You deserve dignity. If someone is isolating you, controlling you, pressuring you, or making you feel afraid in your own home, that's not love. That's abuse. Reach out to someone you trust. A friend, a neighbor, a doctor, a pastor, anyone outside the situation who can listen and help. Document what's happening. Take pictures. Keep notes. Save evidence. And know this, you are not alone. I'm 68 years old. I survived. And if I can, you can too. Thank you for listening to my story. Take care of yourselves and each other. Share this with someone who needs to hear it, and let me know in the comments, what's one thing you're doing to protect yourself or someone you love? If this story moved you, hit that like button and subscribe, because every story I tell here is about real people facing real challenges and finding the strength to survive. Thank you for being here.